Well, I mean, last week we picked the Patriots to beat the Buccaneers, and it's happened. I don't necessarily think that we were 100% on that pick when we made it. Obviously, from a fan perspective, we wanted the Patriots to win, but I think there's a real conversation now that the Patriots may be the top seed in the AFC. They're especially ironing out their case to be the top seed in the AFC East after the Bills lost to the Dolphins this week. A lot of stuff we got to talk about, but honestly, first and foremost, we're going to give love to the hometown team. Congratulations to the New England Patriots on probably maybe their second or third resume building win of the season. Aside from that Bills win, I don't necessarily think that they played a ton of games that have been super convincing against good football teams, but they found a way to win on Sunday. And, I think that deserves some of our props. So congratulations to the Patriots. Clap it up for the Patriots. Big win against the Buccaneers. Let's talk about it. I know you watched this full game start to finish, so I wanted to get your thoughts first and foremost. And how do you see the Patriots stacking up against this AFC East and AFC for the rest of the season here?
Well, what this game was a statement win.
Agreed.
Through and through. It was the second game in a row where the Patriots have. It was their defense at the end of the game that propelled them to this win. What I thought was super good to see from the Patriots was you're missing Kayshon Boutte, who was dependable all season long.
Yep.
The guys who stepped up were rookies. You had a 75-yard touchdown to Kyle Williams. You had a 67-yard and like a 42-yard rushing touchdown from Travion Henderson.
Yep.
It was a breakout game for him.
Is it time to just give him the backfield?
I don't understand why you wouldn't. Welcome to RB1, Travion Henderson.
Yeah, congratulations.
Travion Henderson, you are officially our running back one here at the corner office. We're happy to have you here.
Yeah, seriously. 14 carries, 147, 2 tuds.
I mean, come on. When was the last time you had a Patriots run? It was probably like second year Ramondre Stevenson. Was the last time you had a Patriots running back who you felt really comfortable with? I feel pretty comfortable when he has the ball in his hands.
Same.
And he can also catch out of the backfield, but where he's really good, as you saw this weekend, was in the open field. He is so fast. When was the last time you saw someone have enough time on a touchdown to look at the bench and ask the coach, should I go into the end zone here?
Yeah, it's a good question.
That was pretty insane.
The last time I remember something like that happening was Todd Gurley accidentally scoring with the Atlanta Falcons and then them losing the game off of that.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I saw a ton from Travion Henderson that I was super excited about because we haven't been super comfortable with Ramondre Stevenson leading the backfield for the first few weeks. Everybody was kind of wondering why the guy who just tore it up in the preseason wasn't our leading RB1. And it feels good to know that we have a guy at the running back position who can be dynamic along with Drake May if he can stay healthy, right? Look, I mean, I think you're right. I think that there were a ton of contributions from this team on defense. Christian Gonzalez continues to make a case for being one of the top corners in the NFL, despite the fact that Ibuka had a really good game. They played a little bit of zone coverage, so it wasn't necessarily his fault. Drake May didn't play his best game of football this year, and that's okay. I think the weather got to him a little bit, but he ironed it out in the second half. And like we said, they did enough to win this game, right? Was it super convincing? Did they win by 30? No, they only won by 5 points. But at the same time, good football teams find a way to win against other good football teams. And I think this Tampa Bay team is a good football team, right? Again, it wasn't the shootout that I think some people were expecting between two of these guys who have been in MVP conversation since the start of the season, Baker and Drake May. But there was a lot to be super excited about. And this Patriots rush defense continues to be phenomenal, which is not something that I think people were super expecting. Through the first 10 weeks of the season, they hadn't let a single running back rush for over 50 yards on them. Sean Tucker got 53. I think that's not something to tip your cap at. Like, that's pretty incredible. And they just continue to impress me so far. So I think that there is a valid argument that this Patriots team is becoming a contender. Again, they're going to have to play the Bills again this season. We have some tests in the division coming up. The New York Jets have looked a little bit better. Should we beat them by a lot this weekend? Definitely. But, I saw a lot from this Patriots team that made me say, you know what, maybe they are trending in the contender direction, and maybe they're not necessarily a team that the team that comes to mind for me is like the 2021 Steelers that won the AFC North, but were just not a good football team and got bounced in the wild card.
To Baker Mayfield, yeah.
Correct. So, like, let's just hope that that's not the direction of this Patriots team. I think a fully healthy Patriots team is pretty dangerous, though.
I would agree with you. One, I've seen a lot from Drake May this season that has impressed me too. I mean, beyond where I thought that he would be. I mean, he is legitimate top 3 MVP conversation right now, right?
Unfortunately, I don't understand the NFL MVP. I think it's just a quarterback's award. I think if you were actually going based off of who the MVP of
I
the
think he's
season is, it's 100% Jonathan Taylor.
yeah.
But will he
So I
win it?
think he's probably
Probably not.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say Drake May's probably 4th in MVP conversation right now. I saw one thing that concerned me this weekend. Obviously, there was some rain in Tampa
Hmm.
Bay, and it was weird in the first quarter. It was only raining on the Patriots drives, which
Yep.
I haven't seen. But playing in New England, you have to deal with a lot of harsh weather.
Yep.
Drake May was having trouble when it was raining hitting his targets.
Yeah.
Alex,
The ball was floating a little bit. Yeah.
are we worried about Drake May not being an elements guy?
I don't know. I think that like he played in Carolina for his college career, right? Like, um, I don't necessarily think that it's a concern. I just think it's an experience thing, right? Like the more
Do we need
games.
to put some gloves on Drake in the rain? Do we need to see Drakey 2 gloves?
Do you think that would solve the problem?
I don't think that would help at all.
No, I
I'm
don't
just
either.
asking questions here. I'm just being
Yeah,
devil's
yeah,
advocate.
you're
Do we
just
need to see Drakey
investigate.
2 gloves in the rain?
Again, I think it'll look better the more that he plays in the elements. Obviously, the Patriots will have at least 1 or 2 snow games every single season at Gillette Stadium. Um, so we'll see. But again, like I'm not super concerned. Also, like the Super Bowl. When's the last time the Super Bowl was raining? Right? Like,
Well, I mean, oh, whoa. So we're talking soupy here? We're talking Super Bowl?
that's
We
what
getting
I'm
ahead of
saying, though, right?
ourselves
Like,
here, Alex? I mean, you
nah,
just said that you're worried about the Patriots maybe being a fluke team. Now we're talking soupy?
you never know though. Like I think my point stands though is that like the more experience you get playing in the elements, which Drake May hasn't had throughout his college career and obviously throughout his NFL career so far, the better you're gonna look. He looked better in the second half, right? The first half he was missing a lot of throws he normally makes. Second half he still missed some throws, but he kind of like worked into the pocket, played a little bit better. And I mean, was the ball floating a little bit like Tony Romo was saying on the broadcast? A little bit, right? But I don't think that I'm super concerned about it.
I think you got to just let Tony Romo go back to like completely breaking down the defense.
Mm.
Because when he was doing it his first couple of years, I don't know a single person that complained about it. No
Yeah.
one was like, hey, I hate it when Tony Romo tells me exactly what's going on. But CBS talked to Tony Romo and was like, hey, tone down the telling the entire broadcast exactly what's happening. I kind of love that. I would love to see Tony Romo let us know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I like when football guys talk football. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
that
come
makes
on,
sense.
let the guy talk football. But to wrap up the Patriots, look, we're fucking good at football. We're a good
Yep.
football team. I would put us legitimately, comfortably top 2 in the AFC right now. I would put
Yep.
us top 2 behind. I still think the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC.
Okay.
Behind them, I'd put us number 2.
Okay. I mean, the obvious team that would come to mind is the Buffalo Bills coming off a massive loss to the Miami Dolphins. I want to get your takes on this game if you saw it at all. What happened in this one? And I mean, Mike McDaniel has clearly had a stay of execution this season. The Dolphins have said they're going to ride out with him for the rest of the year. Do I understand that? Not really. But at the same time, this feels like one of those classic Josh Allen games where like you expect them to go out and win in convincing fashion, and they just don't have it. It felt like this whole team like did not play their best football, and Tua didn't even have a really good game. They just somehow put up 30 points on this team.
You know how they did it? Devon Achane is,
Yeah,
I mean, one of the best running backs in football. I would
100%.
love to see him be in like, I mean, obviously he's in our division, so I don't want to see it on the Dolphins, but
Right.
watching him play football is fun. And every once in a while, he has games where he reminds everyone, like, hey, I am one of the fastest guys in the entire NFL.
Yeah, it's also a good reminder from the Buffalo Bills perspective that like you have given Josh Allen relatively no help on the offensive side of the ball. Who is he throwing to? You expected Keon Coleman to take a bit more of a jump this season, I think, if you were, a Buffalo Bills fan, obviously coming out of the draft. And then Khalil Shakir was like their wide receiver 1 last year, so he was returning as their wide receiver 1 this year. It doesn't feel like they have enough weapons. I mean, they do have Kincaid. They do have some good
He got
tight
hurt in
ends.
this game,
Right.
actually. He
So,
got
like,
hurt.
it just feels like, again, you're trotting out this guy, Josh Allen, who has been proven to be an MVP candidate year in and year out with a pretty good offensive line, but absolutely no one to throw the ball to, right? And if he's not having his best game where he's doing superhuman Josh Allen things, this team's not winning football games. And it's just not a sustainable formula. Obviously, it hasn't been able to sustain itself in the playoffs. We've seen it time and time again come up short against this Kansas City Chiefs team, like you mentioned. Um, they've already lost to the Patriots this season, and now they've lost a second division game to the Miami Dolphins, who is a team that you should beat both times you play them if you are the Buffalo Bills. So do you think that there is a little bit of concern that is coming over this Buffalo Bills team, especially considering the way that the Patriots have played? Because this has been their division for a few years now, and it feels like it's shifting back towards the Pats. Or do you think that they'll right the ship this week and get a win?
Uh, I think they're playing a super tough opponent who's coming
Okay.
off a loss in the Bucks.
Yep.
Um, if I'm the Bills, my hand is hovering over the panic button.
Okay.
I'm right here. I'm hovering over it. If you lose to the Bucks this week, I think you're hitting the panic button pretty hard,
Mm.
especially if it's convincing. Both of these teams are coming off a loss. I think the game's in Tampa, if I'm
Yep.
not mistaken.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry. The game's in Buffalo. So, I mean, it'll be good to get back home, but I didn't watch this Bills game. I can't tell you what they did wrong. I can tell you that the Dolphins had one of those games that they seemingly have every 3 or 4 weeks where they just like smoke a team that they shouldn't beat. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, wait, what? How did that happen?
Right.
And
Right.
it
Right.
just like kicks the can of them having to completely blow it up a couple weeks down the road. So I think that's what happened. The Bills have one of these losses every year, I feel like. But I would say if you don't see a much better Bills team this week against Tampa, you have to hit the panic button if you're a Bills fan.
Okay. Another team that I think their hand is maybe hovering over the panic button is the Green Bay Packers. They've fell to 5-3-1 in one of the ugliest primetime games of all time. I got to be honest with you. Primetime games this year have not been enjoyable to watch.
They're in
Almost
a bad
every single one
place.
of them has been a slugfest, like just really ugly football game. Slugfest in the wrong way. Um, the Eagles held on to win this game 10-7. I feel bad for anyone who stayed up and watched the whole thing. Jordan Love has looked like a shell of himself from the first game of the season where they beat the Lions in convincing fashion. That's probably the only time that I've been super impressed with this Green Bay Packers team. Maybe the Steelers win and maybe a Bengals win mixed in there. Obviously, the shootout against the Cowboys was an awesome game, but this team just does not play convincing football. And a lot of their losses are bad losses. Like they lost to the Browns 13-10. They lost to the Panthers 16-13, and now the Eagles 10-7. What is wrong in Green Bay, and can they right the ship before the playoffs? Because, like we said, this division, the NFC North, is incredibly contested with teams that are really good at football. The Lions are at the top of the division. The Bears look like they've kind of got something going on. They keep winning late games in games that they probably should be out of, in games that in normal Bears fashion they'd probably lose. They're winning now. The Vikings are sitting at 4-5. We talked about this Brian Flores defense almost every single week. Their defense is good enough to carry a JJ McCarthy-led quarterback team. And then the Packers are sitting at 5-3 and third right now. It feels like this division is going to be separated by a few games, and it just feels like this Packers team is trending in the wrong direction. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about this team, but they were
Yeah.
supposed to be contending for the top of the NFC at the beginning of the season, and they just have not continued that production.
Yeah. I mean, my first instinct is they don't win big games or they don't win close games. I'm sorry. They don't win close games. All those games you mentioned are one score. They lost by a field goal 3 times. They tied the Cowboys. Those are 4 games that you had written down as wins. This Packers team you can make an argument that they should be undefeated
Yep.
based on who they've played. But they've dropped a bunch of really close games. And once you get into the playoffs, every game's going to be a close game. You're not going to go out there and blow out every team, especially a team with this much talent. Like they have a good roster, but their team is not immensely talented to the point where they are going to blow every team out. They're going to play close games, and they've proven that they can't win it. And I think, for me, one of their problems that they've had all season is they don't have a dependable wide receiver core. And I understand. People going into this season were saying the Packers have one of the deepest teams. They have one of the biggest wide receiver rooms. I understand that. But you can have all the talent in the world. If they don't produce, then you don't have a good wide receiver room. And that's what
Well,
we've seen so far
is
this
that
season.
not on the quarterback to make the throw to a guy like Christian Watson, a Dontavian Wicks, a Romeo
Yeah, I
Dobbs?
mean,
Like,
are they getting open? You
yeah,
lost Tucker Kraft for the year.
correct.
You could point at a couple games that they've won that was single-handedly because of what Tucker Kraft gave you. So if you don't have him, now you're putting a lot of pressure on these guys. Obviously, you have Luke Musgrave, who's a very dependable backup tight end, but he's not the same guy. You are asking these wide receivers to respond in a big way, and they've proven through one game that they can't do that. So again, I agree with you. Packers hovering over that panic button. They play a team that they should beat this week
Yep,
in the New York Giants. And
yep,
if it's even, I mean, this is one that if they continue this pattern, they will lose this week.
yeah.
If they don't right the ship, you are smacking the panic button. And we'll get to picks a little bit later on. I didn't see anything from the Packers that makes me think they're a great football team. I also have not watched an Eagles game this year where I saw them play and thought that's the same team that we saw last year. The
100%.
Eagles are currently sitting as the number 1 seed in the NFC, and I
Hmm.
still don't think they're the best team. And we will
Yeah.
see with game of the week this week. They're playing the Detroit Lions, who, in my opinion, are still the best team in the NFC.
Yep.
This is a huge test for them. And if they come out and look the same way that they did against the Packers, they're going to lose by 30. I need to see a game from the Eagles in order to believe that they're the same team, because I know that they're just as talented, but I haven't seen it yet this year. Need to see it this Sunday, or else you're asking questions about them as well. Everyone is talking about this NFC being a hugely talented division this year.
Hmm.
But from the teams that we expected, I haven't really seen what I was expecting going into the year thus far, even though the record doesn't show that.
I would agree with that. I think that's a good take by you. Let's continue with the panic button discussion and talk about your second team this year, the Washington Commanders.
Oh, yeah. No, you're hitting it.
Okay.
You're hitting the
When
panic button.
when do you think there has been a team that has been as disappointing as this Commanders team has? Coming off an NFC Championship berth, like when's the last time a team was this disappointing in the NFL?
Um, It's a tough question. My mind instantly went to the New York Giants after they won a playoff game a couple of years ago and then went like
Okay.
2
6 and
and
11.
10, yeah, to start the season. Like
Yeah.
and we're going to get into the Giants, but that's who my mind went to. The last team that was this disappointing, I honestly don't know. People had huge expectations, including myself, going into the year of the Commanders. I think
Mhm.
Dan Quinn has not coached this team very well this year. They've been battling the injury bug all season, and it just
Yep.
feels like this team has nothing to rally around. If I'm the
Agreed.
Commanders at this point, sit Jaden Daniels for the year and then completely restart with hopefully a good pick. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, we're in week 11 now, or I'm sorry, week 11 now, right?
Yep.
It's officially time for teams to start checking tankathon. It's
Mhm.
tankathon season. Uh, and if I'm the Commanders, I would be kind of hoping that I'm pretty high.
In the draft. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I mean, you signed Terry McLaurin to a big contract. You get Deebo Samuel in free agency. Obviously, Jaden Daniels has not played as many football games as you wanted him to this season. It just feels like this team completely collapsed on itself. And there wasn't really any reason or any like discernible thing that you could point to and be like, this is why they've been so disappointing, aside from injuries. Um, and also, like, I think that people saw them taking a step back or regressing this upcoming season just because they overachieved the season before. But I think teams expected them to be in the playoffs. I expected them to be in the playoffs the way that they played last year. Um, and despite that, this team has just continued to be super disappointing. So that's too bad for the Commanders. It is a team that we love, near and dear to your heart. Obviously, living in Washington, D.C., you get to go to Commanders games sometimes, which is pretty fun. But,
I'm hoping they get bad so the tickets get cheap, to be honest with you. I'd love to go to a Commanders game,
yeah.
but when they're good, the tickets get pretty pricey, and I would like to go watch one this year. So
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So we'll see what happens with them come the end of the season. I think you're right, though. I wouldn't play Jaden Daniels another snap for the end of the
yeah,
year.
no, I wouldn't either. I was actually maybe an hour ago, I was walking with my buddy, and I was like, to be honest with you, I hope they keep losing so I can pay $65 to go see a Week 16 matchup between the Giants and Commanders. I would love to go watch a meaningless football game for very cheap.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. Let's talk about the Giants too, though. They finally made a move that I think people were expecting them to make for a long time. Brian Daboll is officially out as the New York Giants head coach. Obviously, he came into the job in 2022 and took the Giants to their first playoff berth since 2016. They won a playoff game. They beat the Vikings 31-24 in the NFL wild card. And he won Coach of the Year in his first season with the Giants, which is, a crazy thing to think about back then. Obviously, you then signed Daniel Jones to one of the worst contracts in NFL history, 4 years, 160 or $80 million, I want to say. And then the skid kind of starts, right? They come into the next season. Daniel Jones gets hurt in like week 7. They go 6-11. They start to slide a little bit. You lose Saquon Barkley in free agency. Year after that, you're still sticking with Daboll. They went on a 10-game losing streak to end their season, 3-14. And then this season, you go 2-8. Obviously, you have the hopefully generational label is being thrown around when it comes to Jackson Dart, who's been in concussion protocol like 7 times this year. Cam Scadaboo, another guy that kind of was a bright spot for this team, goes down for the season. And you lose 4 games when you have double-digit leads in the fourth quarters. That's on your coaching. Just simply put, that's on your coaching. His head coaching record with the Giants was 20-40-1. Not good enough. Not good enough to be an NFL head coach. I think this is a move that people saw happening for a while now. I'm not surprised it happened, but at the same time, I'm wondering who will be the next head coach of the New York Giants, because I do feel like right now this team is more of a desirable spot to land if you are looking for a head coaching position than some of the openings that happened this last offseason with like the Jets, and the Titans, right? Like I expect that someone will want to be the Giants head coach, and I'm wondering who you think that might be.
I don't know who it's going to be, to be honest with you. I think they'll go find a coordinator somewhere.
Okay.
But I mean, again, if we're gonna go look at Tankathon, the Giants are sitting in 3rd right now. You
Yep.
are already without your star running back and wide receiver for the year. Jackson Dart is out with a concussion. So it makes sense why they would move on from him and then completely start fresh next year. I think it's a good move. Brian Daboll not only has not won them football games, but I mean, if they're going to become a competent football team, I would expect them to go make some moves in free agency this year. They're going to need money to do that, and they can't keep affording to pay the fines that Brian Daboll is costing them by checking on his quarterback in the blue tent to make sure
Correct.
that he's not concussed. I mean, it's burning them like $200,000 a game. And if
Yeah.
Jackson Dart's getting hurt every game, that means Brian Daboll's checking on him because that's his little buddy, and then they're going to have to pay the fine again. They can't keep doing that. So not only is it possibly going to result in some wins, but it's going to help you out with the checkbook as well.
Yep.
I think moving on from Brian Daboll's great. Look, he won Coach of the Year, but you win Coach of the Year one year, it doesn't mean you're going to be great the next season. I think Dan Quinn won Coach of the Year last year, but look at where his team's at, right? So it's a completely year-to-year basis. You can't cling on to that. And don't get me wrong, winning 33% of your games is probably pretty above average for a New York Giants head coach, but it's not good enough if you want to be a great team. So I think moving on from Daboll is the right move for the Giants. And to be honest with you, I'd hate the Giants, but I kind of like the guys on this team, and I really do feel bad. They've had a lot of really bad luck. I kind of want to see them just like be even a competent football team for a season.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree. I don't think that they are a team like. There are so many players on this team that I actually do want to succeed. I like Malik Neighbors a lot. I like Jackson Dart a lot. And I think you're right though. But at the same time, like they are a young squad, right? Like they have a lot of good young pieces. Obviously, a lot of them are in injury protocol right now, like we just said. Jameis Winston's going to play football this week.
That's awesome.
Hopefully,
let's watch Jameis Winston play football,
which is cool. So like, yeah, I think that this job, like, it has the makings of a team that down the road could be pretty good if you get the right guy in there. And that's going to be, something that they're going to have to talk about in the front office. We'll see what happens with it. But I'm with you. I think that this team is trying to lose games for a draft pick.
Yeah, I think it's the right move too. Let's talk about the funniest game of the week.
Okay.
Which actually was one of your picks last week. You had Houston -1.5. Houston versus the Jaguars was a spectacle in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Davis Mills, out of all people, ran into the end zone to put the Texans up 1.
Mhm.
Obviously, they went for the 2-point conversion and did not get it.
Yeah, so I'm
So
sitting
going
on my
into the
bed.
Jaguars' last drive, Alex's pick had missed by 1 point, by a failed 2-point conversion, and he was sitting there sweating in the exact seat that he's in right now.
I was sitting, yeah, I was watching this game on my laptop, like literally watching it, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're gonna score here, and then they're gonna go for two, and I'm gonna lose this pick on the 2-point conversion."
I was smiling. I was so happy. And then I think my stream was about a minute and ahead of Alex's, and I texted him and I was like, "There's no way that's how you're gonna win this." And he was like, "Wait, I haven't seen it yet." Daniil Hunter, I believe,
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence gets picked off by an
picked off.
offensive lineman who
Yeah,
almost gets the
defensive
ball
lineman
stripped, and it falls out of the back of the end zone. Like, it was just a crazy ending to that game.
It was a
Look,
defensive lineman pick six on Trevor Lawrence.
with like 15 seconds on the clock. Like, the clock ran out as he ran to the end zone, which was hilarious. Um, I think a question about this, just as it is mostly for Jacksonville, not necessarily for Houston. They lost this game. They shouldn't have lost this game. Liam Cohen coached a bad game in the fourth quarter. The Texans came storming back. Will Trevor Lawrence be the quarterback of this team next year? He has been below average for every single season he has been in the NFL. On top of that, he has one playoff win under Doug Peterson, I think in 2023, maybe before that, maybe 2022. And this Jacksonville team has just never improved under him. Travis Hunter is going to be out for the season with a torn LCL. So he will be, sidelined, and that will lose another target for T Law. But aside from a few wins here and there where you see some flashes from Trevor Lawrence, there is just nothing that backs up the generational quarterback label that he came into the NFL with. And I would not be surprised if they move on from him as their quarterback coming into this new upcoming draft.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is just to put it on a scale for you. Trevor Lawrence makes $55 million a year.
Yeah.
That is double what the leading Premier League goal scorer Erling Haaland makes for Manchester City. I know there's probably some people listening who aren't soccer fans. Trevor Lawrence is a good person. He is not a good football quarterback. And if you're the Jaguars, you have been sitting there praying that he was going to finally take that step. And I think you're right. At what point do you just throw in the towel and restart? Because he's going to lead them to mediocrity every year. They're going to win 8 games for the next 10 years if they continue to stick with him. He's not good enough to be any better than that. He's never going to go out and win you a football game. But yet you're paying him $55 million a year. So you could get rid of him. You're going to eat that much money. You're going to eat that contract and restart. I don't think you can afford to do that. I think you have to stick with him through the end of his contract, at least another year. So I would expect him to be the quarterback, but I wouldn't expect him to be good.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think that, look, I don't know who the picks are this upcoming NFL draft. Again, we've talked about the college football season this year. We don't even know who the Heisman favorite is. Like, there are so many guys who are mediocre. So maybe this isn't the draft that they go out and try and get a quarterback when there isn't a clear, surefire prospect that they could get. I'm just saying that I'm concerned with the way that he's played, and I have been for a while now. And I think that they were supposed to take a step this year. You got him a few more weapons. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. was the guy last season. He's regressed a little bit this season. Travis Hunter, to shore up that offense. They just have not looked like a competent football team. And every single week, it's like, oh, the Jags are going to jag this up, right? Like they're up a score. How are they going to mess this one up? They should have won that game. Just plain and simple. There is no reason that the Houston Texans should have came back and won that game in the fashion that they did. And then on that last drive, you were watching it and you were like, there is just no way that the Jacksonville Jaguars go and score. Like, they just don't have that in them. Trevor Lawrence does not have that in him as a quarterback, and I don't know where they're going to go from here. I just don't see him being the quarterback of this team coming in the next few years.
Yeah, I got a funny throwback for you. Remember Travis Hunter?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Okay.
It was just cool to think about, guy playing both sides, being good at both sides. Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. He was the talk of the town. Um, yeah, if you're the Jaguars, again, you're one of those teams. I just have no idea what you do moving forward. One thing that I am pretty certain on is that the Ravens are going to win the NFC North, or I'm sorry, the AFC North.
Yeah.
The Ravens are going to win the AFC North this season. That
Yep.
seems like I've seen all I need to. Lamar's back. The Ravens are back. I would expect them to be an incredibly good football team from here on out for the rest of the season.
Agreed. I wouldn't see them losing very many games going forward. On that note, let's make some picks.
Let's make some
Jack,
picks.
you retook the lead here. You went 4-1 last week. I went 3-2. I still have one pick over you for the entire season so far. I think I'm sitting at 22 points and you're at 21.
Let's be honest, you got away with a couple there too. This past week.
This week was a close one. We both forgot that the Cleveland Browns are in the tank bowl against the New York Jets, and they decided that they were just going to not win that game on purpose.
Well, so here was my thought process. I thought the Jets were going to do the right thing, which was on me. I mean, I talked about it last show.
Yeah,
I said I was going to be a man and take the Jets, but I didn't. I cowered away at the last minute.
you said
I thought the Jets were going to do the right thing by losing this football game because that's what they should be doing. But the Jets are always going to shoot themselves in the foot every year in the worst way possible, and they did by beating the Cleveland Browns this week. They just didn't want it as bad as the Browns did.
Yeah. So I mean, congratulations to the Browns on winning our first Tankathon Bowl of the season, or not even. I guess they did win, right? Like they lost the game that won you a higher draft pick. Congratulations, Browns. They will continue to do that with Dylan Gabriel at the helm. It sucked for our picks. We both missed on that one. But Jack, you went 4-1, which means that you get to pick first, which hasn't happened in about 4 or 5 weeks now. So good on you. Here we go. Let's get us started with Jack, your number one pick for this upcoming week.
Yeah, it's a shame because I wasted my first pick on one that I am not confident about at all. I have the Packers to cover -7.5 over the Giants. And here's my thought process. Packers are coming off frankly, horrible loss. They should, or like a horrible performance. They should not have played the way that they did against the Eagles. They've lost 2 games in a row now. Eventually, they're going to have to right the ship. Before that, they had scored 40, 27, 27, and 35 points.
Yep.
I think that they are going to be able to put up a big enough number to beat this Giants team. So I have them covering -7.5.
Okay, I think that's a good pick. I mean, look, this week, like you said, is going to tell you a lot about what this Packers team is. Are they capable of winning games that they should win, or are they going to continue to spiral out of control here?
I will say also, I forgot that Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback this week when I made this pick.
Yes.
If I had known that, I might have taken Giants +7.5.
I'm going to take a fun pick here. It's not necessarily fun for us. I think the New England Patriots will win this game, but I think the Jets will cover a 13.5 point spread. I think the Jets are a team right now where they are good enough to keep a game competitive, but they know that they have to lose eventually. So I think this Jets team is trending in relatively the right direction. They will lose to the New England Patriots, but I don't think the Patriots blow them out by 14 points.
Yeah, I'm going to say I like the pick in terms of I would never take it because I don't want to root against the Patriots, but it is probably a good pick. I'm also taking a fun one here. Bengals coming off a bye week against the Steelers, who played in, I think the Sunday night game was uglier than the Monday night game was.
Yeah, they were both bad.
Chargers Steelers was a tough watch. I shut the game off, to be honest with you. I got the Bengals +5.5 over the Pittsburgh Steelers this week.
Good pick.
It's a fun one.
I'm going to follow that up with the other team that played in that Sunday night football game. I'm going to take the Chargers -2.5 over the Jags. Look, we just talked about why the Jags aren't a good football team. And while the Chargers don't have a convincing win on the schedule aside from beating the Chiefs earlier on in the season when they were banged up, I think that they probably win this game by 3.
For my third pick, I think the Broncos are a good football team. Okay. They're sitting at 8-2 right now, second in the AFC behind only the Colts. I think that the Chiefs will beat them by 3.5 points at home. I think that they will break the 7-game win streak that the Broncos currently have and get it done in Mile High.
Yeah, I agree with that pick. I think that's a good one here. And my last one is another fun one here. I'm going to take the Bucs +5.5 against the Bills. This game could go either way, in my opinion. I think that this one will be close enough to where the Bucs will be able to cover. And again, if the ball is in Baker Mayfield's hands at the end of the game, you feel pretty good about the Bucs' chances to win.
I like that pick a lot. Game of the week this week is obviously Lions versus Eagles. This is pretty much, in my eyes, a competition to see who's the best team in the NFC.
Mhm.
Um, I haven't seen enough from the Eagles to be impressed by them, and I think that when the Lions' offense is clicking, they are a very good football team. I'm going to take the Detroit Lions here.
Okay. I like that because we're going to have some parity here. I feel like every time the Lions and the Eagles face off, something goes wrong for Dan Campbell's squad. Therefore, I think that Nick Sirianni and this Eagles team gets it done despite the fact they played a lot of ugly football this year.
And then knock game of the week is Commanders versus Dolphins, two
Yeah.
of the biggest train wrecks in the NFL this year. Possibly, I mean, Bengals aside, the second and third biggest train wrecks in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Dolphins. I've seen enough from them to think that they could win a football game. I think one of the keys is handing the football off to Devon Achane
Mhm.
and just letting him do whatever he wants. And Washington has a bad run defense. I'm going to
Yes.
take the Washington, or I'm sorry, I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins.
I'm agreeing with you. I think the Dolphins win this game. I don't expect the Commanders to win.
All right, let's move on. We got a little bit of NBA here. We're quickly going to run through that. Uh, a huge story in the NBA has been the Dallas Mavericks dealing Luka Doncic at the deadline last year to the Los Angeles Lakers, widely regarded as a completely franchise destroying trade.
Mhm.
And the mastermind behind that was GM Nico Harrison, who has been fired by the Mavericks this week. It had to happen. And
Yeah.
all Mavericks fans are rejoicing. They look like they just won the NBA Finals with how happy they are in
Yep.
Dallas. And I can't blame them. Hopefully, whoever comes in can do a better job than Nico Harrison. He, frankly, did a horrible job with this Mavericks team, despite bringing them to the finals. Um, and they seemingly have no direction right now. I would like to see what they can do under some new management, and I'm excited to watch this.
Yeah, this team was a disaster. We're going to get a little bit of a segment out. I'm going to have a little clip on that a little bit later on this week. So I'll iron out everything that Nico Harrison did wrong under the Mavericks so far. Um, Look, it was the right move. Obviously, they had to move on from someone. Someone had to go down because this team is just so bad right now. They don't have a point guard on the roster aside from Ryan Nemhard, who you don't play. Like, there's just a ton of stuff going on in Dallas right now that is just not convincing when it comes to the basketball. Obviously, Nico Harrison was the guy who let Jalen Brunson go, traded Kristaps Porzingis, traded Luka Doncic. Like, so many moves that like you just look at and you shake your head at. And so I feel like this move was inevitable, and especially because of the start they had and the way that Luka has looked so far in a Lakers uniform, you kind of had to go look at this and be like, yeah, he was going to be gone. Um, Another team in the NBA that I just want to quickly touch on as we finish up this segment here is the Detroit Pistons. They are sitting in first in
Yep.
the Eastern Conference. They are at 9-2. Cade Cunningham has looked like an MVP candidate so far. He's averaging like 27 and 9 a game right now. Jalen Duren has taken a step. We talked about this team in particular being one that was super young with a lot of really exciting new pieces. Do I see them being the number one seed out of the East? Probably not. But at the same time, like guys like Cade Cunningham, like Jalen Duren, like Isaiah Stewart, Asar Thompson, like they have a ton of pieces on this team that are super fun players to watch. And it's just amazing to see that a team rebuilt after losing 28 straight games under Monty Williams in 2 years, right? They were in the playoffs last year, and now this year they're contending for the top of the AFC. What a perfect rebuild from this Detroit Pistons team, and I would continue to watch them grow as Cade Cunningham continues to grow into his All NBA potential.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with what I've seen from them. But to be honest with you, I have one huge concern, and that's injuries. This team is
Mhm.
very injury prone. If
Yep.
you look right now, they're 9-2 right now. They're on a huge roll. They've won 7 in a row, but Cade Cunningham's dealing with a hip that's aggravating him. Jalen Duren's got an ankle. Asar Thompson's out tonight with an ankle injury.
Yep.
Isaiah Stewart's out with an ankle injury. Tobias Harris is out with an ankle injury, and you're still missing Jaden Ivey. So this team, if they can stay healthy, I could see them being a very good team. But to be honest with you, I think that they're just going to be one of those teams that are fun in the first half and then kind of can't figure it out in the second half. So
Okay.
I hope that's not the case. This Pistons seems a lot of fun to watch, but until I see these players play for an entire regular season, I just
Mhm.
can't trust it. And I don't think that you can blame me for feeling that way.
Yeah, I think that's probably not a bad take. A team that I am a little bit concerned about, and I feel like we'll figure it out as the season goes on, is the Orlando Magic, a team that we had notched in at like just below that contender range in a frisky spot, I think, during our our all NBA tier list battle there. They got Desmond Bain at the trade deadline, or in the offseason, sorry, not at the trade deadline. He's been poor. He hasn't played great basketball. He's averaging just under 15 points a game on bad shooting efficiency. He was supposed to be a guy to come in that shoots the ball well, especially from 3-point land. They've kind of got a little bit of a regressed form of Franz Wagner. He hasn't necessarily taken the jump to being an all NBA type of player. And Paolo Banchero has not looked like the player that he was last season. He's looked a little bit more passive, not as aggressive going towards the rim. And while they are only sitting at 5-6 or 4-5 right now in the Eastern Conference, I think that they're, around the 10 seed, where roughly where the Celtics are right now. Yeah. 5-6, they're at the 10 seed in the Eastern Conference. So they have a lot of work to do to get back into the upper echelon. I just think that their play hasn't been super convincing. And, I'd like to keep an eye on this team because we did have them slotted as a team that could take a jump this season in a weaker East.
I think that they were expected to take a jump this year in a
Agreed.
weaker East. I think that they were expected to be a top 4 team, but their biggest problem last year was 3-point shooting, and that's why
Yep.
they brought in Desmond Bain. But he's
Yep.
only shooting 27% from 3.
Right.
Paolo Banchero is only shooting 25% from 3. Anthony Black is only shooting 28% from 3. So you brought in a player who's talented, but you didn't address what was wrong. If he's going to continue to shoot at this rate, which I don't expect him to, but if he does, then you won't be able to elevate into one of those teams that is a top 4 home court advantage team in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, by Georgia's definition of basketball, they're a fun basketball team because they have 6 players that are averaging 10 or more points.
Yep.
But even then, I think you brought in Tyus Jones to be a facilitator. He's been really disappointing so far this season.
Mm-hmm.
I can't trust this Mavericks team until I see them put it together. I haven't really been impressed by them thus far. I don't think they really have an identity as a team, but I do expect them to work their way up in the standings in the Eastern Conference. I think it's not too late to still say that they're expected to be a top 4 team, but they need to start figuring it out, and they need to do it quickly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
All right, well, I think that wraps up the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. It does us a ton of support. But until then, thank you for listening. As always, this has been The Corner Office, and I'm Jack Byrne.
I'm Alex Penders. Going 3.